Today we're going to talk about the 2022 Predator prequel, Prey. And so Prey set in 1719, and I didn't know the exact time frame until I just read this letterbox logline. I didn't know anything about it. I heard there was a Predator prequel. I've seen this poster, and that's about it. And it was really, really fun going into it. And then I learned that Dan Trachtenberg is the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I really, really love. So I actually kind of did have some high hopes for this because I've also heard from a couple people that it was pretty good and they didn't expect much and it pleasantly surprised them. And I completely agree because I think that from the Predator movies I've seen two Predator movies. I've seen the original Predator, which is it's fine. It's really nothing crazy. I don't think Arnold is really the most amazing in it, and the technology that he has is a bit weird, but it's a good time. And then I watched Predator, I believe it was from 2017. It was at TIFF for some reason, and it was just bad. I don't know why I watched it at TIFF. Maybe I think I might have volunteered that year and I got volunteer vouchers, so I watched it. And yeah, it was just not good whatsoever. Very, very forgettable, as everybody has forgotten about it, it seems. But yeah, this one went into it, and I gotta say, it was really good. It was really, really good. Just solid. I really had no real complaints. Maybe minor things like the fact that she can catch her axe every single time when she throws it. That's just come on, nobody can actually do that. But yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And a few things before we just talk about a review of the film. So it had a $65 million budget, which I didn't know, and that's pretty awesome. I mean, it is a well-known franchise, but it is it's a prequel. It's a lot smaller story. It's a Hulu original coming out on Disney Plus. I did not see much marketing for it whatsoever, but hey, the word got around and it was really good. So I'm really happy to see that. And it looks like here that a lot of the filming locations were in Calgary, Alberta. So as a Canadian, hey, represent. But yeah, it came out just earlier this August. I believe it was August 5th. And yeah, it was really good. I watched it on Disney Plus here in Canada. We don't have Hulu. But yeah, so let's get into kind of more of a spoiler-free review, and I'll go into a few spoilers along the way. I think that if you're a fan of the Predator franchise, which honestly, I don't know too many people who actually are just diehard fans of Predator franchise, this is a warm welcome. It's the best Predator movie that I've seen, and I've heard that the first one's probably just the most acclaimed, and so yeah, it's really, really, really great. I think I really like movies that are set in the wilderness with natural locations, and this movie's full of it. It's in the 1700s, and the lack of technology fighting the Predator is just a cool challenge to go up to, because every other Predator movie, they've had guns and everything and just really jacked guys. Arnold. One of my gripes, honestly, about the Predator franchise as a whole is the technology is just it's so futuristic-y, and it just it doesn't feel like it has any basis in reality. I know it's a sci-fi alien and everything, but just the technology seems so far-fetched with his homing eye beacon thing and yeah, his invisibility. It's just stuff like that is too far out of the realm of realism that it's kind of okay, you're just making this guy as OP as possible. I know that's what Predator is supposed to be, but that's just my gripe with the core idea of a Predator. But yeah, getting that out of the way, the fact that it deals with this tribe and them really talking a lot about them as hunters. And yeah, it deals a lot with the hunter-hunted, the prey-predator, of course, dichotomy, which is very clear from the title, but it does it really, really well. Really, really well. I was very impressed with just some of the dialogue that they had was really just, interesting and fun to listen to about how they really wanted to get into the mentality of they thought they were the prey, but really they need to become the predator, blah, blah, blah. So the name Prey, is that referring to them or is it referring to the predator? Whoa. Along with just the cool concept of having these people fight the predator who is just so much more technologically advanced than them. The characters really, really shone. The main girl, Naru, was absolutely incredible in this role. No gripes whatsoever. This was her movie, and she led it, as well as the dog, too. The dog was great. And then her brother was also just awesome. And it's he's played off as this really badass hunter and everything, and it's oh, you're the little sister. You're not as ready as I am. But, he really showed some. The things he did was crazy. And then he just has such a good look to him. He comes back from a hunt. He's just covered in blood. He's just like holding an animal carcass. He's badass. I think the plot progression was pretty good. I do think it took a while to get to the actual predator. Like, we see it not really interacting with the main characters at the beginning for quite a while. I want to say maybe like 40, 50 minutes. And then they finally interact for the very first time. And it is quite a short movie, but I do think that the first act kind of did get drawn out a bit with like just so much of her being like, oh, the predator's here, and everybody being like, nah, come on, it's probably just like a bear. And I feel like that just went on for quite a while, but but when everything did start getting rolling with the predator, I was really, really liking it a lot. Overall, I think that the cinematography was really good, but there's just some set moments, just like the scenery, that just felt a bit too, like, I don't want to say futuristic-y, but it just felt too modern. Like, it was just so dark a lot of the time. It was very dark a lot of the time, and there's this one scene that's kind of like shown in the poster here. It's very foggy, and the foggy just felt like a way just to cover up the predator, and it just felt like they're in such distinct locations when they were just in a village that was pretty bright and it was nature, and then now they're fighting in this foggy location. It just felt like the environment is very much playing towards what works well for the plot rather than what actually makes sense. But yeah, again, small gripes, but overall, it's just, a great movie, pretty straightforward premise. They're trying to destroy the Predator. I don't think Predator movies ever really have anything too complicated, but the added thematic relevance of the Predator-Prey dichotomy worked really, really well, and I can't give enough praise for that. It was great. Having said that, onto some more spoiler talk. So going through thinking about a few specific plot points in my mind that really kind of stood out was, okay, this one's not a plot point. I kind of mentioned earlier, like the fact that she made this weapon. The weapon was really cool. The axe was very, very cool. I think that the fact that she can throw it and catch it so easily every single time. She was practicing throwing it on a tree, throwing it right beside to another tree, catching it in the middle every single time. And it's like she's using it to kill people and then bring it back to her right away. It's like how you're getting hit in the head at least once. It's going to go behind you at some point. Like, there's no safety net. You've never practiced this before. This is the first time you've ever done this. You're going to get hurt. And so that just kind of did feel a bit overpowered in a way. But alas, it was very cool. So I'll give it that. But yeah, it's not really related to the main Predator timeline whatsoever, which is a good thing. It's its own thing. It's a prequel, and it doesn't need to be connected too much. And yeah, I think that was really nice to see. Like I said before, with the build-up being a bit slow, there was so much of, you're not ready. You can't kill this lion. And like, there were so many points that she was finding like these big tracks. And she had so much evidence to try to make them believe that there was something else out there. And they kept on berating her and be like, no, you're crazy. It's just a bear. It's just a bear, whatever. And yeah, there was just so much of that. And I think it went on way too long, like I said before. When they finally got to fighting the Predator, the one instance right when she fought it, when she was getting chased by the bear, then the Predator steps in and she like crawls under that dam. Yeah, the dam was very conveniently structured for her to survive that. In that moment, the Predator didn't see her as a threat. And they played that off as like such a big plot point. And I don't think that they really built upon that meaningfully later. I think they kind of tried to do it when her and her brother are attached to the flagpole as the prisoners, and the Predator, they're like, he's not going to come for us because we're the prey right now. We're not threatening. But I feel like there was moments. I think the moment of that one guy who was the translator, and he had his leg just completely cut off, and he's trying to get her to help him. And so she gives him the magic orange flower that makes the body cold, which was very cool. I did like that a lot. And he was lying there and trying to hide from the Predator. So we see the Predator vision, and he has his heat sensing glasses. And then he looks down and he's cold, but then he like steps on him and then kills him. It's like, that guy was not a threat to you whatsoever. He was kind of like yeah, he was not gonna hurt you at all. So why are you just hunting? I thought the whole thing is that the predator was looking for like a competition or something, but no, he just killed him right away. So I think there was a bit of inconsistency with that, just minor inconsistency, but still. Yeah, I really did like that orange flower and the way that they find out that the predator seeks heat and the way she used it at the end. I think that the mud, the quicksand, was, it's pretty much quicksand. That it was well utilized, but makes me, quicksand, I know it's very serious, but I think it's the whole thing where people are like, oh, I thought quicksand was going to be such more of a problem in my life. Who was that? John Mulaney? Where the quicksand in this movie, the mud, the way she got out of it was very lucky. And I think that when she was in the mud and she was throwing her axe, it's supposed to be like she's like vertical in the mud. She's drowning. But I think the way that they choreographed her body just wasn't done well. And it looked very much like she was just lying down, which is, yeah, they're not going to dig a huge hole and have her stand in it like that. It looked very much like she was horizontal, especially when she was throwing the axe to try to get out. Her arms looked like so far behind her because she was actually just laying back like this and going and throwing it. It's hard to demonstrate visually, but yeah, it looked like she was a bit horizontal, which, I mean, whatever. Not a big deal. They had to get it done somehow. The fact that those sticks and her rope of her axe held up for pulling her entire body weight out of the mud, that's a miracle that it did not break. But hey, you know, movie magic, things happen. I think that a lot of the fighting with the Predator was very cool. I think the fighting with the French guys was a highlight, and seeing the Predator shred through them was awesome. The fight with just like when she was trying to escape for the first time with a bunch of her people, and yeah, eventually she goes into the field, and then you have that top-down shot of the Predator running and those two trying to get away. That fight was really good. Honestly, just overall, the fighting was really, really good, because the fighting at the very end with the brother, dude, he was such a badass. He was so good. He was really, really good. But yeah, in general, the fighting was really, really good. I think that the characters were very well developed. I really like that it's a very simple plot line to follow, but they really did what they could with the predator-prey dichotomy. And yeah, it was just fun to listen to what they have to say about that. Again, I think that Predator, just as a character, I do have some gripes with in general. The futuristic-y, it's just like so unbelievably overpowered, and he should win like 100% of these. But of course, he always loses. Poor guy. But in general, it was a great prequel. I really, really like movies with natural locations, limited technology, and yeah, 1700s. I think that was a great option for a Predator prequel, and they did it really, really well, which I was very surprised, because yeah, none of the other movies I really care about whatsoever. So next week we're going to go with The Third Murder by Hirokazu Koreeda. And I'm choosing this for a couple reasons. One, I really like Koji Yakusho. He's a Kiyoshi Kurosawa regular. And then I'm going to see Broker at TIFF next week, and that is directed by Hirokazu Koreeda. And so I have seen Shoplifters, and yeah, very, very excited for Broker. And so yeah, we'll watch The Third Murder.